Okay.
Well, hi, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Speed Tips by Bob and Chad. Nice, nice weekend we had out here in Iowa last weekend, and of course in Wisconsin. The weather was great. Racing's kind of down, down to not much of going on. Still a little bit down south, but not a whole lot. Our special guest tonight is, of course, the new 2025 IMCA National Stock Car Champion, Kelly Shryock. Over 600 feature wins, unbelievable amount of track championships, and pretty neat now that he actually gets the privilege of having that honor of being a national champion for the IMCA stock cars. We're having a little bit of a glitch with his um, internet, but hopefully he'll be back here soon. So, what's new and exciting with Chad?
Oh, we're busy getting ready for trade show season. Uh, we go to the Dome, St. Louis here, and we leave next week for that, and then we go right to PRI. So we got a couple really busy weeks. We're finishing up the displays for both shows. It's kind of a logistical nightmare having them both right together. So it's a little bit challenging to be gone for that long and to try and do both large events back to back, but we've done it before. We'll do it again. We got a great team. Everybody's been working hard here. We had to freshen the displays. It's been 5 years since we've been there, so a lot of the stuff on the displays was kind of outdated or things that are pretty self-explanatory. So we're working on getting the new stuff on the displays and getting the load machines ready to go and the tire smashers. So been thrashing pretty hard to get all that ready to go. Got the catalog finished up. Those will be hitting the mail here in the next couple weeks probably. So just a busy time of year getting ready for the big shows.
Well, and I see that you had a pretty good display up there in New York last weekend.
Yep, Billy was in Syracuse last weekend for the Northeast Racing Parts Show with set up with Joel there from Close, and that was a really good turnout. They said so. Everything went smooth. We were a little nervous with the air travel, all that stuff, and Billy didn't have any delays or anything. So it was another successful show, and Joel does a great job for us up there, and Jeremy and everybody with that show does a great job, and it's a really cool part of the country, and Billy has a good time going up there and doing that show. So always exciting to get up in that New York, Pennsylvania area, and a lot of Canadians there, so it's cool to get up in that part of the country.
Sure. Well, folks, looks like we have our national champion back on here and screen with us. So how are you doing?
We got
What?
you. Yep.
We got you. That's all right. You don't need to. Trust me, I look the same. A little more wrinkles uh,
Character.
in the
Well,
neck area, but not too bad. So how you been, Kelly? Evidently he can't hear me. Okay, can you hear me? Awesome. So anyway, so tell us how you been.
But I have to figure that out here pretty soon.
Well, it's evident that in your career that you're not done with accomplishments.
Sure, I got signal.
the internet isn't very good there.
So
No.
now
Anyway, we've uh, just
will
same situation at BHE. We've been busy. Um, knocking stuff out. We got a bunch of shock orders into today, rebuilds, so that was pretty good. Uh, we got our week coming up, Cyber Monday, where we got a discount on some shock stuff, Monday sales only. So we're looking forward to that. We've had some people call about that, so that's pretty exciting. What did you decide? Are you going to do for Fridays, Chad?
Yeah, I think they're working on that. I'm pretty sure the Weir's Machine site's going to be free shipping on orders over X amount of dollars. I don't know if they decided on 100 or 200 or where they're at. That'll be released, I think, probably either tomorrow or Wednesday. I
Awesome.
know the outdoor brand Trek Outdoors is doing 10% off, I think, the whole site. And I believe we're doing 10% off the scorekeepers also on scoresit.com. So, yeah, exciting time of year. Thanksgiving is a great week, and we try to give back when we can.
Awesome. Well, it's nice to have you on here, Kelly. It's pretty cool that you're not done with your accomplishments. 600 feature wins, an unbelievable amount of track championships, and now you're the 2025 IMCA National Stock Car Champion at age 60. That's pretty cool.
That's really cool to hear that. We've won a little bit throughout our career, and adding that to our list is pretty exciting. Actually, I don't know what exactly that will entail for us, but personally, chasing a couple dreams of the Super Nationals and then a national champion. That's pretty cool in the IMCA world.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, competition's pretty steep. A lot of race cars to race against. Um, One thing that I think is going to be pretty cool and I'm going to have to watch it on TV because I'm not going. But this guy's going to. Can you imagine, Chad? What this guy's going to look like in a tux?
Right? Yeah, that's
I mean, like, holy moly! I mean, get the cameras out, pictures. Holy shit! This is going to be great.
Yeah, I think the last time I was in a tux, I was probably going to a prom dance or something like that. Maybe I don't even
Yeah.
know.
Now, of course, you probably had to spend money on a new dress for the other half, right?
Well, she's actually going to model it for me here as soon as we get done. So
Awesome.
she's got two options. So I get to pick A or B. So we'll see what A
See
is.
what
I have
happens.
no idea. So
Oh, that's good. So
yeah,
you've been pretty busy thrashing at work, way
yeah,
behind.
it's kind of never ending 7 day a week job for us right now. So it's pretty cool to be busy and frustrating sometimes, but overall pretty honored to be able to build. Um, we got 24 5 modifieds, and I think we got 9 or 10 stock cars. So um, that's going to definitely keep us
Pretty
pretty busy.
cool.
There's just really three of us full time. So we got quite a few. We got a few people on a part time level that can come in and help us, but it's it always seems to get done. This year's, the beginning of the year beginning of build season looks kind of bad, but we'll start whipping some. We got our first one off the powder coat today, so kind of excited to get going.
Awesome.
cool.
Well, that sounds good. Our first question. Well, Bob and Chad time for a new BHE Sport Mod. The 18 is junked out. Well, you know, you got two chassis builders here, so you can kind of call whichever one you want, because I'm quite sure we can get you all fixed up. So no matter what your needs are, we can get it taken care of. The of course, we don't. Our modified program. I mean, the car's good. We're just, we're lacking the people in them, and so I was pretty pleased with how everything has been at the end of the year. We just don't have the GRT name's not like what it used to be. I mean, those guys still build an awesome race car. I mean, they do a great job. It's just, well, you know what it's like. I don't need to tell you. I
Oh,
mean,
yeah, that takes the numbers. You look pretty good when you got half the field sometimes in your cars back in the day, and
yeah,
it's pretty exciting to be associated with the Chisholm. He's a pretty smart young man, and we got some pretty good guys in him. So you put some knowledge, some good drivers in your cars. They definitely keep them up front and make them keep them looking really good on the racetrack.
Dustin says for all those guys that have stock car questions that they wrote down, now it's time to get the juice. LOL. So we got
Yeah.
the stock car king here himself. So definitely, it's going to be a whole different banquet out in Nebraska without Mr. Nichols.
Well, I've kind of jokingly, I've got a couple jokes lined up for that, so I can't really put them out right now. But
Well, you don't want to do that. You want to save
I,
them for the banquet.
I can only say that we were fortunate enough to get to go last year, and his speech, no question, no doubt, is one of the more lengthy one. So
Oh my God.
I kind of thought that if we were ever to be the banquet should get over about 30 minutes earlier after I get done with my speech. So that'll get people out of there a little bit earlier.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I remember the last time that I was at the banquet. Yeah. Huh. He's a man of words. There's no doubt about that.
That's for sure. He's done a lot for the sport and the stock car world. What more can you say than his
Yeah.
accomplishments are second to none for sure.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. I mean, he's definitely done the sport good and been a great champion. And everybody will know who Mike Nichols is forever. So that's definitely a statement to be made.
But move over,
Trevor
Mike
said,
Nichols. The old guy is coming on board for at least 1 year anyway.
there you go. Trevor asks me a question. He says, Bob, did Bobby share some of that whiskey I dropped off for you guys? Hell no, I don't remember hearing nothing about that. The heck? I'm going to have to check into that tomorrow. Jamie Anderson, Kelly, what are your thoughts on the Speedway frame? You have changed a lot of setup wise from the old frame. I'm not sure what he actually means there, but
No question that new frame has created a little less hair for me. That silver car was pretty fast, and that stock frame is definitely a different animal. And I finally, at the end, just try to answer my own questions with what would I tell a customer, and that's give that race car what it's telling you it wants. It on a whole, it tells you what it wants. And finally, I just after we were able to breathe a little bit and be able to have the championship kind of under control there, then we were able to venture out a little bit more and just give that thing what it needs. And it's definitely a different deal. It just don't react nothing like that stock frame. And it just don't get on the right front quite as easy as the other cars do. And it definitely doesn't try to pick the left front as much. So I think that's going to be good on a whole. Just getting used to driving that car a little differently than what that silver car did. So definitely took a little different setup towards the end there, and I think we got a little bit better handle on it.
well, that's good. I know I've heard some crazy spring numbers that they're running on some of them things, and some of the setups that some of the guys are actually doing. I'm kind of like, wow, really? But
It's got a different. It's got a different. Definitely got a different approach to what I thought I knew about stock cars, and this definitely got a different effect on the handling of getting into the corner. And some people struggle with it. We kind of right off the get go, we were pretty good. We won a couple pretty good races right out of the gate, and I knew the car wasn't good. And then we start working on it and kind of make it bad, and then then we got it back under control and kind of got it better. And then for same old story. For every action has an equal or opposite reaction, and you got to try to. I've told you this story before. It's you swag, scientific wild ass gas things, and you think you know what you're doing, and then you create another problem. And finally, at the end there, I think we got a pretty good handle on it, and I feel a little more comfortable coming out for next year with the new frames. So it'll be kind of fun to continue to work on getting this thing as consistently fast as our other car. But I'd say we're probably 95% there now.
Good. So you're going to run the same car, or do you selling that car and build another car? Or?
Haven't decided yet. We're just actually all set up. We're actually going to start another one tomorrow, actually. So we'll get rolling with them and see how fast we can get the darn things out. And I got a couple of people maybe interested in this car that want to race a little earlier in the year, and so I'm we're going to go there.
Yeah, I'm going to let Braden take that car down to Arizona, and then it's going to have a new home.
Well, that's important to get out there and race, especially if you can race at one track like that. I'd love to be able to do that, but at this point, it's just not in our cards to do that.
Right. Tanner says, "Hey, Bob and Chad, wondering what your thoughts are on pull bars, spring style versus biscuit sleeve style. Please explain difference in performance for a Wasota A mod." There you go, Chad.
Yeah, I feel like the Wasota cars are kind of like a UMP car. They got a really sticky tire. They got big horsepower. I like to lean towards a spring bar on that just because you have so much more power to handle there. We do have some Wasota guys running the Belleville bar also, so my go-to would be a Belleville or a spring bar, just because of the amount of horsepower and the sticky tire. It's way harder on the pucks. Don't last real well on that style car, in my opinion. So I'd probably go with the big progressive spring style bar.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. That's, from some of the customers that we have out there, that seems to be, guys have been running that and seem to like it. Joe, hello, gentlemen. Kelly, will you watch the dome race? I'm quite sure he will. Who wouldn't? No, he'll be actually. You're going to be down there, aren't you?
Actually, I've got a little funny story there. I told, if none of you know who Smoke is, Joe Chisholm. He's up and coming, new young stud out on the open modified world, and it's pretty darn good. And I told him last year that if he got invited, I would haul him down. So we're actually going to take a couple days out of our schedule and go to the dome with Smoke. So we're kind of looking forward to that. And can you hear
so
me?
anyway, Kelly's going to be down there.
Yes.
I don't know if I'd want to see stock cars race at the dome.
Yeah, I think it'd be too one lane ish. I think.
Yeah,
I don't know. They'd go through the holes better than other cars would. When driving my stock car, this is my modified. It's no comparison how much better the car goes through, or at least it don't seem quite so rough in a stock car.
Yeah. Well, it's that would make sense, I guess. I never thought about that. Whoa.
That's a big one there.
Man. Anyway, okay. So Dustin, should we run an extended left rear shock or extension? I feel like the stock cars get out from underneath me on the corner entry by doing that. Didn't they change that? They changed that rule this year, didn't they, for the left
They
rear?
did take, it was kind of crazy that they ever had a minimum amount of droop you had to run, but they did take that out, thank God. And I think you'll see a few cars more, maybe getting upside down quite as much in the rougher hooked kind of racetrack. So I think that's going to be a better scenario. So you still can't top that shock out and preload your spring. So as long as the tech guys stay on top of that, I think it'll be a good deal for sure.
Good.
Them cars can only take so much getting on the nose, and in rebound in that left rear. If you don't have enough travel, you probably carry the left rear, but you get too much travel up on the nose. There's just not that weight's just laying up there on the right front and not planting the back of the tires back of the car like you'd probably.
Okay. Dustin said that's on a factory mount shock I'm asking about. Well, the factory mount shocks, I don't know. I'm not familiar, Dustin, to be able to help you out with the rules on any of that. Um, he's saying about the factory mount shocks for a factory, uh, like a
A high
hobby
stop
car.
car, right?
Yeah.
Well, same deal. If you're topping that shock out by getting into the corner, you're liable. You could be pulling that left rear tire, making it light, getting into the corner, and at that point, the car is going to be loose if that left rear tire is light. So, if you could figure out some sort of little travel indicator or something that you can see how much rebound you're getting in that left rear to make sure you're topping that thing out. Because if you're topping it out or close to topped out, you're going into the corner and the car is trying to roll more and it's just trying to pull the tire off the ground. That could make for a very loose scenario for them.
Avriel has a two-page question here.
I just posted the
Um,
new rule for the Midwest mods.
New rule for the Midwest mods.
It's
Fronts
been
can be a 1475 and a 1474-6. Well, that's only about 20 years away or back in the day. Left rear can have a 97.2. The right rear can have a 94. Rear shocks must be mounted 25 degrees of vertical. Shock shields may be used. Shocks must have a 1 inch minimum. Shock must have 1 inch minimum of shock travel up and down at ride height with the driver in the car. Shocks cannot be tampered with. Yeah, that 14 series, you wouldn't get to do much with those. Any shock that has been deemed too far from AFCO's tolerances can be confiscated and the driver be disqualified. What adjustments on setup would you do? Oh, yay. Um, and a 20 psi minimum tire with a G60 or 8-inch asphalt takeoffs. Holy moly.
Should be exciting for the fans to watch.
Oh my God. Yeah, man, I got to be careful what I say because this is highly political, but yeah, I don't know where that came from. Um, hmm. I would actually have to think about some of the things you'd have to do. You just have to go back to working on your suspension and making sure that the suspension stays free and work with your angles on your trailer arms within their rules, which is kind of minimal. Um, yeah, I myself
Which class
would.
is this
What's
for?
it?
What class this under?
That's the Midwest Modified. Yeah.
I haven't been approached. I haven't been around much with them checks, but I don't know if Ben was telling me the story or somebody of the races that they went to. They got cleared down like 3/4 of the way down the field. They were all legal. So there's people out there that can come apart and revolve them and put them back together. So competing against the kind of thing.
Well, it's very difficult, and the problem is, you think you're trying to save money. Well, I mean, if that shock's difficult to get into, I mean, I'm quite sure whoever is doing with that, and we don't have anything to do with them, but whoever is dealing with it, it's not a cheap price to get them altered. And
I'm sure not. Yeah.
I mean, so then that's just going to create another issue, another expense. So yeah, hopefully they tech it and do a good job with that. So good luck with that, guys.
For sure.
Dale, hey Bob, just wanted to let you know I was really impressed with Troy and the guys at the shop. Did a great job on my son's stock car. I don't remember the gentleman's name who was building the rear ends, but he was very helpful. Oh yeah, that was Daniel. This guy that this Dale is talking about here. They came down from Michigan and they had a stock car that we kind of did some revamping on. Dustin, I'm in the South, not IMCA. Yep,
Can you hear me, Chad?
Yeah,
Yep,
I can hear you. Yeah, we got you.
Okay.
Dustin says, do you guys think that having too much left rear hike to get the car in the air more? If so, what effect is that? Well, I think anything. Too much is, when you get a lot of droop and a lot of angle, now all of a sudden you're getting a lot of steer and you're getting a lot of movement. And so everything has to be somewhat controlled. What's your opinion, Kelly?
Definitely, what goes up must come down. So in different scenarios where you're on and off the gas and in traffic, that thing's got to be drivable at all times. So it's where your shocks really become a major factor in making sure when you get out of the gas, the thing doesn't crash or gets really crazy. The stock cars aren't quite a big deal as a modified, but they're still if that thing is hiking up beyond what. Too much hike, like I said, but steering darn thing, so you can fix that by changing brackets and this kind of thing. But you watch most of them stock cars, they tend to migrate pretty close back to approximate ride height going down the straightaway. So yeah, they'll hike, but then they tend to run out of energy and run out of energy to keep that thing hiked up all the way down the straightaways.
Yeah, very true. Tilly wants to know if I have an opinion on a radiator. We use the AFCO brand just because I've used the AFCO brand radiator for God as long as I can possibly remember. What radiators do you use, Kelly?
We've been on the AFCOs, and then my modified, we run the Kaiser,
Okay.
that big Kaiser one, because we run gasoline in that just to make sure we didn't have the heat trouble. So that radiator worked really well. The whole key with radiators is just obviously keep the darn things clean. Try to keep the dirt out of them and keep the darn things clean. I think that's the main scenario. Have one soaking and one car, really. So you really need to have two of them most of the time.
Yeah. Mike, IMCA stock car, B&B by BHC. What are some of the things you guys do to keep right rear stuck more slick entry through the center besides stiffening the right rear and right rear trailing arm up? What is too stiff a rate on the right rear? Just from my experiences, and Kelly can probably do something differ from this, but I don't really like to see anything much more than a 250 back there, depending on where you're running and what kind of track you're on. But the other things doing, that right rear trailing arm and that kind of stuff, Mike, is pretty much about the things we could do. What would your recommendations be, guys?
Definitely, I'm kind of myself a little bit more of a believer of forward bike trunk side by maybe a trail breaker, modified driver. I'll kind of get the car into the corner if I'm a little free. But when I was standing on the gas, I wanted to go. So forward bike jumps. So I
Well,
don't
we'll let
really worry about a whole
Kelly
lot
get
of
back
right
on
rear
here and
feel. It's
kind
got
of,
to be enough to,
and
you're
I
just
know where
not
he was
totally
going with that,
overall
and I agree
loose.
with him too,
But
and that's why, like I say,
trailing arms,
I don't ride good on the real stiff right
definitely
rear
it plays a
because
huge role of
being side
entry
bike.
on what the car feels.
What happens is a lot of
I
times
don't know. I
people
wish I knew more
will
about
focus
that
so
stock.
much on the side bite
Bob,
aspect.
can you not hear Kelly?
Nope.
Oh, he's been
I cannot
talking.
even.
Oh, whoops.
Yeah,
Can I keep talking?
You guys are both going. Just hold on, Bob. You can finish, Kelly.
Okay, so right rear trailing arm, one hole, 5/8, 3/4 of an inch is a bigger change in a stock car on that trailing arm than 3 or 4 holes in a modified would be. So, right rear feel on the trailing arm.
And then we lost him. You can't hear him?
No, I can't
I
see.
cannot hear Bob.
Oh, maybe
And
nobody
he's
else
off
can
the
either.
picture too.
I don't think so.
Anyway,
You're
go
on.
ahead.
There's
Sorry.
Bob.
Yeah, anyway, I mean, back kind of what Kelly's comment was. There you are. All right, now you can finish that. Sorry about that. I couldn't see you.
So right rear feel is, that trailing arm is a huge factor. So as you raise that up, it tries to put some more drive in the car, but you lose your feel.
You
So
lost him
having
again.
the right rear trailing arm.
I still got him. It's in and out.
Is it my phone that's screwing it all up?
You're kind of in and out again, yeah.
He got to thinking about them damn dresses and it's all screwed up again.
Jesus. Okay.
I got full
Where
internet
were
service here.
we? Technology is cool when it works.
Technology is awesome when it works.
I wonder if he should just shut his Wi-Fi off and roll on his cellular signal. It might be better than his Wi-Fi.
I have no idea.
Shut your Wi. Do you get good cell service on your cell phone? And gone.
Do you get good self-service on your cell phone?
I wonder if he should just shut his
Try it
Wi-Fi.
on your cell phone.
Okay. So
Sometimes
tell
my
me how to do
Wi-Fi
that.
is
Just
really
unplug my
Yeah,
internet.
tell him how to do that, Chad.
Let's see.
But anyway, back when Kelly was kind of talking about, a lot, we run into this with sport mods, modifieds. Everybody likes that ultimate security of that side bite feel where it really gets on the right rear hard and you just like you stick a disc blade in the ground or something. The problem with that is that's not necessarily fast. Forward bite, where if you can have enough bite in the car, you should be able to rely on the car to go into the corner, roll to the right rear, and be back on the throttle to the point where it will pull itself underneath you and get the car back underneath you on, under the throttle. And most of the time, now I realize the stock cars of the group would be, well, here we go. Well,
Now we're getting the fourth one.
yeah.
Oh, you're just there. Click on your skin.
There you
There you
go.
go. You're coming and
Well,
going.
he was there. So anyway, that's, it's just my opinion. Like I said, with the stock cars, there's not a whole lot you can really do other, you can put weight on it, you can do other things, but you're kind of stuck with what you have.
All right.
How's that? Are you there?
She's showing me her phone. I can see what your guys are seeing. This is a disaster.
Um, anyway, Mike, that try to keep that right rear stuck in the slick. Once again, I use a little bit of physical lead. I tend to try to move, some of my lead a little bit to the right side, and have, some adjustability with my lead placement. Um, that will help. The biggest thing with doing it with lead, you have to be a little careful. Depends on how much speed the racetrack actually has. Of course, if the racetrack's got a lot of speed, side bite shouldn't be really an issue. So that being said, I usually to move a 15 or a 25-pound chunk more towards the right rear just to kind of keep it in. Um, there we go. We got him again. We had him again.
Jesus.
Anyway, um, so hopefully we'll have him back here pretty soon because I know we've got some questions here for him. So um, what's your thoughts on the new modified rules, Chad?
Yeah, I mean, what a rash decision, we were blindsided basically. We didn't know anything about what was going to happen, and now everybody needs a left rear brake clamp. It's like, well, I mean, now we're building them as fast as we can, which, I think, I don't know. I mean, I understand where they're coming from. People are getting crazy, putting bars wherever and shocks wherever, and, just trying to do weird things to get motion. But you think that was weird. You wait till you see what we do with the four link plates. I mean, if you're gonna put a box, you got to keep the box tight. And I feel like maybe we could have just said that a brake floater rod must be on the top and the 4.5 up hole, something along that line, instead of just making everybody rebuild the left rear. Because I think 98% of the cars have a brake floater on them, which, I mean, it is what it is. At the end of the day, it's going to be easier for them to police. It's going to be harder for you know to control the decel a little bit. It goes back to, I think, before we had brake floaters, which I barely remember. I had a few years without it. You guys have a lot more experience pre-brake floater era than I ever will, but we're gonna decel harder going into the corner, and you're gonna definitely want to have a good 90-10 shock up top on your pull bar for the decel, just because both brakes are on the axle now. So when you hit the brake pedal, it's gonna decel the pull bar harder. So but as far as that, I think people are just going to get crazier with 4-link setups or possibly just a 2-link setup. You look at a sport mod versus the modified, and the 2-link modified goes just about as fast as the 4-link modified if you changed engines. So I think guys will just start playing inside a different box.
Well, I mean, I completely agree with everything that you just said. My fear is what's gonna happen next, because once again, we're taking something away, and there's too many people out there
Did you send it to you by text
that,
or by?
that aren't stupid, so, um, anyway, that being said, I mean, there's gonna be all kinds of stuff
Shryock,
that
I'll lower
are gonna happen, and I don't know. Hopefully we can get Kelly back on here and
3S. Yeah, let's try me.
Trying to open it on
Text
her
at
phone.
AOL. .com.
well, let me go down here and see if there's some
Here's the
questions
meeting
that
link.
we can answer. Um,
What a mess.
the new IMCA rule, do you think we
We
will
have
see
good
more
Wi-Fi
people
here, so
No.
jamming the left rear,
Yeah,
trying to
it's
make up for the no
completely.
brake floater. That's a possibility.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, we're just gonna, how do you make the motion, right? The brake floater was assisting the motion, so you're gonna just do different things with the angles and the four link rods and try to get that thing to get up and get the motion as fast as you can, so uh, probably gonna be some pretty creative setups, I can imagine. People, I mean, I made the T-shirt, right? See the white, read the black, find the gray. We're gonna be searching for gray. That's where crew chiefs and drivers. That's where we live. So how can we outsmart the tech man, right? That's where everybody's gonna go.
Yeah. So we got you, Kelly.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me? Okay.
Are we back?
I
For
think
how
we're back.
long?
Awesome. Okay, let's back up here because we have some other questions. Mike wants to know what your thoughts on the new modified rules are, and then he also wants to congratulate you on the national championship.
Well, thank you very much. The model was we're gonna fall right about our droop is right there. So I think if we drop our body mount about 3/8 of an inch, I think we're gonna be fine. So the brake floater deal is gonna be a little different. Actually, a few years ago, more than a few years ago, when my old partner he had the R44 house car that had a clamped up left rear in it. He didn't believe in a brake floater, and I tell you, we were pretty fast in that 44 car. So it's going to be interesting if some of the guys that are really, really relying on that brake floater to keep the car up. I think it's going to help with shock people like yourself on helping support a little bit of load in that left rear without the brake floater. But still, if you're keeping enough throttle going into the corner on the brake, it's still going to try to keep the thing.
Well, and that's true that a guy can do some of that with the shock. The problem is you're going to take traction away from it when you stiffen that shock up too much,
For sure.
and so then you're going to be lighting the tire up, and I just I don't know. I mean, it's been done before, like you said. That 44 car was pretty quick, so
Yeah. Spring
I
load.
think it's going to put it more back into the driver's hands. Like you said, some of the guys that are relying on that left rear floater and their driving style, that might be different.
Just a
Okay,
lot of guys
Hal
have
wants
just finally figured out how to trail brake. And I think you're still going to have to trail brake some. I mean, we still trail brake on our stock car. And I know Matt Lowe trail brakes with his sport mod. And, so I think, I don't know if it's going to be, I don't know if it's going to be as big a deal or not. Possibly, because we're really relying on that left rear staying kind of hike. We don't want to stay up completely. We want to drop. So, yeah, it's going to be a motel on the good drivers are overcome it right away, and the people, other guys, they'll come around and figure it out eventually.
the end result's still going to be the same end result. I mean, the guys that are
Yeah.
used to running up front are going to figure it out and they're going to run up front. So I don't see, in my opinion, I'm not reacting to it quite as severe as some people are, but whatever. What's your thoughts on the 62-inch rear end for the stock car?
I think it's a good deal. Because you can only go out so far with a 60. You can only go to a 2-inch off. So if you want to go beyond a 2-inch, you're limited to that. So the 62 allows you to go to play when you start trying to out what your race car needs. It allows you more tools to be able to go back to a 2, 3, or 4 to get you the amount of drive you need. And if you get too tight, you can suck it in, and you can always go out further with that 62.
Sure. That makes sense. I would agree with that. Um, uh, Jason, what's a good starting point for camber caster on IMCA modified? You know, I don't know what you run, Kelly, but I'm not a huge fan of a lot of caster. We still have about 3 degrees of split, but it's usually like 2 and 5. Camber, that seems to be a pretty big deal. The right front with quite a bit of camber, and a lot of people forget about that left front. But man, that left front needs to be out there in that 4 degree range. What's your recommendations?
I think you're right there. Left front between 4 and 6, and right front between back in the day we used to really is not.
Yeah, some of
Catch
them
your.
cars, I'm just amazed.
I'm sorry, Bob.
I said some of those cars, I'm just amazed. I mean,
Yeah,
I watch them go down the straightaway, and it looks like the ball joints broke.
for sure. I mean, kind of look at your. I like looking at pictures, and pictures will tell you the story of where you're at with the amount of camber that your overall setup needs. So, the late models tend to really question. I really scratched my head on that. They use some sort of shear angle, slip angle with really excessive cambers to help the thing steer. So, but they got a little nicer tire to work with than we do. So, you start wadding up a 4-ply sidewall, I think you can lose traction compared to the two-ply sidewall. I'm sure there's a point where you can lose traction there, but they tend to have that shear angle or slip angle or whatever it's called to create as much steering capability as the right front and the front tires can handle. That's, you listen to them guys. If they can steer, they go faster. So it's no different in their world or our world. So, if you're not steering, definitely take a look at, playing with some more camber to help the front end steer a little bit better. So, you can, get back to the throttle faster. And whoever can do that is usually got a faster hot rod.
Yeah, no doubt. That makes a lot of sense. Dustin wants you to send him the right rear scotch juice, and he'll send you a Starlink later.
A what?
A Starlink, fix your
An
internet.
internet connection.
Oh,
Satellite.
and I got to send him what?
He wants you to send him the scotch juice for the right rear.
Scotch juice.
It's not our internet, but our cell phones.
I would love a Starlink. I've just recently learned what that is, and that would come in handy. I'm thinking
Well,
Scotch juice. I don't even know what to say on that. It just fits. That stock car, Bob can attest. That stock car fits my style. Keep the car straight, tighten it as tight as you can tighten it, and somehow Kelly Shryock can make the darn thing turn. And that's what I think. What makes me pretty successful in that stock car is just having a tight car and negotiating it so that the thing is pointed in the direction I want to go when it comes time to get back to the throttle.
yeah. Oh my God. Back in the day, I swear to God, the right rear would go out about an inch, and he'd come in. Oh, this thing is so loose, I can't drive it. And it's like, holy shit, loose.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I still have that problem. We should have maybe pursued a little bit more pavement racing, Bob.
Oh yeah, you'd be awesome with that
We
pavement.
got we got better at it. We wrecked a little bit of stuff, but we got better at it.
Um. Anyway, so what's the best internet provider? Well, it kind of depends. Starlink is good. We have that Starlink for the Super Nationals, and then we just pay for whatever the little monthly service fee is the rest of the year, and we only use it. We only activate it for 2 months out of the year. But boy, it works good. Um, what's your opinion on the back stiffer in the left rear now versus the school way where guys were running 125, 150 range, like being on a 225 or 250. Um, I have not seen that, and maybe Kelly's got a different theory than I do. I haven't seen guys going back to that stiffer left rear spring. I think it still needs to have a little softer rate spring so it can compress a little bit more to kind of help get a little bit more hike. What's your thoughts, Kelly?
Well, again, you can kind of work all the angles you want with that spring rate and the stored energy of the dynamics that a soft spring can produce. But it part of it is dependent on if you need to go further with your setup. um, you can get spring load, but as you soften a spring, you need more load to get the same or less effect, more load on what a bigger spring could do with less load. So you could end up with more dynamic with a bigger spring with less ride height problems, especially trying to keep that left rear under that 9-inch rule. So if 100-pound spring versus a 200-pound spring, a 100-pound spring, you got to put twice as much energy in it to have the same amount as a 200-pound spring. So at that point, you're cranking and cranking and cranking on that 100-pound spring to get the energy. Now, stock cars are kind of unique. You can crank on them things, and every other turn maybe raises the ride height up a little bit. Where a 200-pound spring, you don't have to crank in as much, and that left rear isn't quite so overwhelmed with that softer spring and that heavy of a race car. So you could end up with a little bit more load if you wanted without having to raise the ride heights quite so darn much.
I missed a question. Jason talking about sport mod, taller left front, ball joint, shorter right front. That's what we have on our sport mods. I think the right front is a standard and the left front's a plus half. Now, I know there's some guys that do, and when we went to the two-piece spindles, our lower ball joints are not the same.
As you start playing with ball joint heights, it takes, we've worked with Mark Bush enough to know it takes 8 hours to draw front end to really put it in perspective. But you pretty much can, if you want to make a change on a roll center and you want to move the roll center to the left, put a taller ball joint in the left, put a shorter one in the right. It's going to move the roll center to the left to make the car roll. Depending on what you're trying to achieve with, them ball joint heights will dictate on really the direction what you want to head. If you're on the right front too hard, you sure heck wouldn't want to move your roll center to the left. You'd maybe want to put a shorter ball joint in the left and a taller one in the right. If you're on a soft spring, if you're on a big spring and you want to get on a big spring, and you need more weight transfer on a big spring. At that point, you'd want to move your roll center to the left. So it's really dependent on overall setup, center of gravity, height, everything you're looking for. Just depending on what you're trying to achieve with your setup on any reason why I would even think about changing a ball joint. I want to figure out what I want my car to do at that point.
Sure. Well, I think he was just asking what.
Generally speaking, taller left, shorter right, so the thing will roll up on the right front for sure, no question.
That's kind of fairly common.
Yeah.
But I know there is some guys that do the opposite, like you said. Okay, let's see here. Where are we at? Dustin, on a 3-link with Soda Mod 4, how much bar angle on the left rear is too much? Currently around 45 degrees. What's your thoughts, Chad?
I don't know much about the Mod 4s. The same principles, though. I mean, you're going to know when you have too much left bottom rod because it's going to tote the left front. It's going to wheelie. It's going to be too free. You're going to get too much roll steers. So I don't really know a number on them. I've never even worked on one. But that's just the common things that I think about. When you get too much, you'll know.
Well, and that 3-link it's a 3-link suspension. 45 degrees is is a lot of static. Now, I'm hoping that you're saying that's 45 degrees at dynamic,
Yeah.
because dynamic would make sense, and that's like our sport mods are right at that 45 degrees dynamic. Static, they're about 26 or something like that. Um, okay, Dustin says, Kelly, you stay right there, don't move.
I'm holding position.
Hold in position. Um, Owen, Kelly, what's some of your accomplishments you're proud and stick out to you? What are some of your major accomplishments that are proud and stick out to you? Other than marrying,
Oh, my lovely wife. That's
yeah.
one. Um, some of my accomplishments. I'm sitting here in my living room. I got some of my really cool trophies. I got a King of America trophy that was pretty darn cool. I've got a. I got a. My wife's pointing them out to me. We won at Texas Motor Speedway. That was pretty cool. We won the up at Deer Creek, the big race at Deer Creek. That was really really cool. Um, got a couple of my dad's memorial races that were really really cool. Salute to Veterans races, man. What can you say about winning one of them with having a Salute to Veterans race wrap on your race car and knowing that the one year we had, I don't know how many people that lost their lives over there in the wars and on the car. So that meant a lot to me. And can't forget about that Super Nationals win with the stock car. That was pretty big too. So um, it's there's so many. I remember my first win, and I still got that trophy, and there's a lot in between. And who would ever guess that we would be past 600 wins? I just shake my head in awe that for myself winning that many races, and it takes so many people. Working for Bob was a huge part of my success, being because we had so many good drivers we could bounce ideas off of and to win races. And the numbers don't lie when it comes to having successful guys in your race cars, and it keeps you going fast. And yeah, there's just so many. It's pretty overwhelming to stop and think about what we've accomplished. That's for sure.
Well, and just for your information, I talked to our good old buddy the other night. Mr. Schrader calls me.
Oh,
Now, he's a few beers into the wind, but anyway, he calls me, and there's a guy that's coming to the sport mod school that's a friend of his down there. So anyway, he says, "Well, I know Bob. We'll call him." And of course,
mm-hmm.
like I said, they were into the wind. And he wanted to make sure that I was well aware of the fact that he's not the weak link in the chain. He's still getting it done. So you got another 10 years to go.
Yeah, he it's kind of cool when we go race and he's there. I'm not the oldest guy there, so it gives me hope that we can keep doing this for a few more years.
Yeah, he says he's not the weak link. He's still getting it done.
That he is. He's amazing, isn't he, for what he's accomplished and still accomplishing, winning races, and that's pretty cool. One for the old guys, keeping it, keeping racing with them young guys will hopefully keep you young, I guess.
No doubt. On an IMCA modified front end, what's your opinion where you should start with anti-dive, pro dive, and what's the best way to check where your car sits now? I'll let you answer that one. Go ahead,
You
Chad, you
talking to Chad?
can.
Yeah, Chad's pretty
Uh,
good at that.
Yeah, Chad knows all about that front end stuff.
well, the first you measure it at ride height, static. When you're ready to roll, measure from the ground up to the front and rear bolts on the control arm, and that'll tell you whether you have anti-dive or pro dive. So I think for the most part, we're running anti-dive on both sides. Some guys put pro dive in the left front, and what it does is when you touch the brake pedal, it puts the car on the right front. um, induces that dive onto the front, if you will. So um, I don't know where you guys are starting the chassis now. That's up to you guys.
Again, it's going to dictate on what you're wanting to run for springs. What your shock guys got you on, how much compression in that right front shock. Here's the thing: if you're bottoming out when you hit the brakes, if your chassis got an adjustment that you can create a little bit more anti-dive, that'll help that out. I think people are always a little confused. That only works. Anti-dive only works when you're on the brake. So, if you're not using the brake pedal, that anti-dive that is not the adjustment you're looking for. But if you change that a half an inch, we have keys or slugs we put in there. You go from a 0 to and you raise that a half inch, which is, I don't know how many degrees. It's definitely a noticeable change on not crashing so hard when you get on the brakes. So, if you're not getting on the right front and the right front sliding, then maybe you've got too much anti-dive and it's not letting the right front get on the right front hard enough. The right front's holding itself up with the anti-dive. So again, depending on what you're trying to achieve, if you're hitting the brakes and that thing's just bottoming out, then you might need a little more anti-dive to help control that. So definitely an adjustment that is noticeable when you do make that change.
Well, we're getting close to the end of our questions here. I want to remind everybody about the chassis schools coming up. February or January 16th and 17th will be our two-link, our sport mod type, modified B mod type school. February 6th and 7th will be our four-link school. February 20th and 21st will be our stock car school. And then March 6th and 7th will be our school out at Joel's at Close Racing Supply out there in Pennsylvania. I already forewarned Joel that Bob's getting old. Not sure how many more years Bob's going to want to do some of this stuff, and he's well aware of that. But we're still going to do as much as we can and as long as we can. And I enjoy it. I have a great time with the schools. Get to talk to all those people, and it's really a pretty cool deal. So I'm very pleased about that. The other thing, let's see what else. Oh, the other thing is we will only do one show in December, and that's going to be December 15th. So, with the holidays and the busy schedule with PRI and St. Louis, we're only going to do the one show, and that's going to be the 15th, December 15th. Zach, also on the left rear, do you try to match half the weight of the driver to choose your spring, or does it depend on the feel of the car? I've heard some people that actually say that, but man, I tell you what, if you had one of those little guys in there, you wouldn't have much for spring. So I think it has a lot more to do with depending on the feel of the car.
And depending on when you're saying how big of a driver, I mean, if you're well over 250 pounds, it's going to probably take a little bit more spring to hold the car up. Otherwise, you might be just bottoming out really excessively. So again, we look at a dynamic number there, but light guy versus a heavy guy, you might need a little bit more spring just to hold it up. We might end up with the same dynamic, but that light guy, that thing's just gonna, or the heavy guy is gonna be setting too low. And so definitely play with per driver's weight a little bit to pick out the left rear spring that we need for sure.
Oh, and one of that droop rule and brake footer rule and everything. One of the other things that they said on the left rear shock, I heard Dave say that on the IMCA deal the other night, that the driver's the one that's going to have to compress that shock. Now, for the guys that are over 200 pounds, that might not be a big deal, but you get somebody like one of them 110-pound drivers trying to compress a shock that's 150 pounds, that might be interesting. But anyway, I just thought I'd throw that in there. Kelly, what's your opinion on your rear spring table? 16 left, 13 rear, or do you run shorter right sides?
We're a little shorter right sides. I guess I played with that many years ago, and maybe it's something I need to try again. But I don't mess with that. Here's the thing: if I need my car to roll more, I can go to the J bar, or I can raise a chunk of lead to make it do what I want it to do. I've had more success moving a chunk of lead than changing a spring table height by a couple inches. I can't honestly tell you I could feel a lot of difference there. So I know if I move a chunk of lead low or high, or if I want it to roll more, I can take a little J bar split out, or if I want it to roll less, I can put a little bit more J bar in it. So I'd go to my J bar or a chunk of lead if I need it to roll more or less.
Brad says that he hears Sean Farmer McClesh is good at grinding tires and internet issues.
Farmer? I
Yeah.
assume that's Farmer. I might have to contact him to see what I got going on here.
Stockard Drew, okay, thanks for the answer. Now, what about being down on the 700 in the left front in a stock car being heavier than 900 or 1,000 range?
Left front 700?
Says 700 right front.
Right front.
Oh.
Oh, right.
Yep.
Right front.
Versus a 900 or 1,000.
So your 700, if you're going, again, you're looking at what you're wanting to achieve. With IMCA, doing that ride height rule, in order to achieve that 7-inch ride height, a lot of guys have had to go softer, so you can dynamically load that softer spring to make it think it's a big spring, and then that will raise the car up so you can get through the ride height rule. So I think that's where that's kind of really become a major factor. And where a 900, you can maybe take a little bit more ride height out, so you kind of lay on that 900, but you can't get the right front high enough for my setup anyway. A 900 high enough to get on it if you were to start at that higher ride height with the 900. So you can dynamically load that softer spring to get a higher ride height, and then now every inch of movement is a softer spring for you.
I'm going to skip down here about 3 questions. Some of these questions I don't know if we're going to get them done, but we're going to try. John wants to know, will Kelly be part of the stock car class? Well, I've been working on him for 2 weeks on that answer, and I haven't got a confirmed yes, but I'm pretty convinced that I'll break him down here eventually.
Yeah, man, I'm not. I got so much work to do, Bob. I don't know. I don't.
Days, you need a vacation.
I'm going to St. Louis.
Well, that's early. This is in February.
True that. True that.
Anyway, so Jim Horse says he could only imagine winning the Select to veterans. At least it was to Kelly.
That was a tough loss for Jim, for sure. It shows you what we talked about a lot of times in school. Make that last lap your best lap. And so often people doesn't give the best for their last lap. And, if you just falter a little bit and you give somebody the look of maybe that checker flag, it makes you dig deep and get that best last lap that you can maybe pull that upset victory off for sure. And that was a for us, and I know it was disappointing for Jim, but it'll make him stronger eventually, knowing to try to make sure you can make that last lap your best lap.
Zach said, for all you as car builders, suspension builders, and drivers, what's the best advice you can tell a young driver looking to pursue this as a career? Well, you gotta work pretty freaking hard. You gotta want to put in a lot of time. Racing is a real desire. Um, if you're not willing to put in the work, don't waste your time because it is a work based industry and you will work a lot of hours. Now, you get a lot of rewards from it. I mean, look at Chad's success. Kelly's success is a great deal. Some of the successes that I've had, there's a lot of reward, but you got to want to work really hard and you got to be very, very determined. What would you guys say?
Yeah, I go right to Dick Trickle. You gotta wanna, you gotta dig down deep, and I've been fortunate enough to be in this industry my entire life, but as a manufacturer for almost 29 years, and I'm telling you what, it wasn't easy. A lot of people would have gave up. But yeah, you got to work hard, and you got to really focus on what you're doing, and you got to wanna. Period.
Gotta want it, and you gotta pay your dues. I mean, you gotta pay your dues, and you gotta learn and keep learning from the experience each night that you achieve. And success doesn't come overnight, and it's very difficult, and it can be frustrating. And I catch, just a quick story, I catch a lot of grief for running a stock car. But I love driving stock cars, and think the people that race against us, they get better. I look back, it was kind of, I found some paperwork from, I was trying to find some sponsors in 1996, which that's almost 30 years ago. And I seen my name in with Mark Noble, Ron Jones, Wayne Larson, um, um, Danny Anderson. When I started racing, these guys had 10, 12, 15 years of experience on me. And it was very difficult. Mark Noble, use him as an example. Most people probably know of Mark Noble, but he's probably one of the most talented race car drivers I've probably ever raced against. The most frustrating part was I finished probably second to him 100 times, but he's the one that's helped make me who I am today because we kept working hard through all sorts of every aspect of our setup, to driving, to suspension, to everything, and I owe him probably everything, to teaching me how to go fast and try to outrun that man. And, when these stock car guys complain that they've run second to me, I said, until you get 100 seconds to me, now you'll know what I felt racing against Mark Noble. And eventually we end up beating him. So, racing against good guys make you better. And if you really want to be better, you got to race good guys. And, at that point you will get better if you have enough desire and will and knowledge and determination and work ethic to try to get better against these guys, for sure.
What to say on that one? Well, we
Now we
got
lost,
Tadera, they're back.
but we lost Bob now.
You got
All right.
Starlink and you're not even using it.
No. Anyway, let's see. Blake's got a question. When the right front frame is bottoming out on a B mod, would you guys advise giving it turns or give it spring?
And it's bottoming out on the A-frame?
It's bottoming out. The
Frame.
frame itself is bottoming out on the dirt.
Then you need, I like doing turns. Just turns in can help that until depend on the scenario. If you're on a rough racetrack, a lot of times, keep in mind, a soft spring is a soft spring. So if it's a rough racetrack you're talking about, then you may have to increase the spring rate to help that scenario out. But night in, night out on a fairly smooth racetrack, you can just do turns in to help control that, or figure out when and where it's bottoming out. If it's just a crash, because the thing is rebounding on you down the straightaway. Then you might go to your shot guy and tell him, you need a little more compression or a little bit more rebound so it doesn't hike up quite so much off the right front, so it doesn't get in the run at getting into the corner and crashing. So figure out where and why, and then try to do that scientifical guess to see what's going to fit your scenario. Turns in, first thing, real easy to try. Just put a couple, 3 turns in that thing to add some load in the right front and see if that controls it. If you get to the point where the turns aren't helping, and then eventually if you get too many turns in there, you can just shear the right front off at that point, then you're going in the wrong direction. So turns in can definitely be a good fix. That's kind of how we really tune. Once you get close, that 2 or 3 extra turns in is on say a 400-pound spring, 3 turns is about a 25-pound spring change for you. So you can easily change your load to accommodate the amount of extra load you think you're needing.
Scott Gray says that Kelly has taught me a lot. Heck of a guy, heck of a friend. Congratulations again on your stock car championship.
That's it's pretty cool. You take anybody that's in this art field and working with people that are all in on racing, and Scott's all in on racing, and it's my pleasure to work with people like that because not only can I give him some feedback, but I call him once in a while and I need some help myself. So it's pretty cool working with cool people like Scott to help keep your race cars going fast.
Next question. Can you explain corner entry and trail braking for a beginner in a sport modified class?
Corner entry is what it's all about. Getting in and through the middle of the corner. What's the car need to go faster? If it's setting down too much and getting tight, then some more trail braking can help you with that. Most people are confused about trail braking, and I tend to use a lot of brake. The more trail braking you use, the more rear brake you got to go because you need the car to still turn when you're on the brakes. So as you apply more brake and more brake, if you're needing that much brake to do what you think the car needs, then really you're needing to adjust more and more rear brake at that point. Imagine this, going through the corner, wide open through the corner. If you didn't have rear brake to help the car turn, you're going to pile the wall down pretty quick. So as you trail brake more, you need more rear brake to keep it doing what it's doing. So as a trail breaker, if you're going to be using the brakes, for me, myself, I try to just be consistent with my brake pedal usage. And then if the car's a little tight, you put a little rear in it. And if it's a little loose, you put a little front brake into it. So the more you trail, the more it should help keep it up and keep the car loaded. In the stock car world, you can keep the car nice and loaded with trail braking. But again, as you try trail brake much, it's going to try to make the front end take off. So at that point, you've got to grab the rear brake and put some rear brake into it. So when we get done, if you're really, really, the stock car world's pretty tough. To pass them cars because we're all so equal most of the time. You got to be able to outrun that car in and through the middle of the corner. And, at that point, you got to be able to get in the corner just that little bit deeper and not be loose or not be tight. So you just dial your brake in accordingly to make the car, again, get pointed in the direction you want to go once you get back to the gas, knowing that your steering wheel will continue to finish the corner out for you. So nothing that 40 years won't give you more experience to help you out with that scenario.
Okay, I'm going to take 2 more questions or read 2 more things. Teaching race car drivers ain't no vacation. I can't disagree with that at all. Zach said that he appreciates the advice, love the IMCA modifieds for that reason. He'll be in St. Louis and love to talk to you then. Dustin says, thank you all. Have a Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving. And now I got to watch Kenny Wallace before I go to bed. Yeah, coffee with Kenny is a must.
Yes.
And anyway, that's pretty much all the questions that we're going to have time for. We went an hour and 20 minutes. Once
I only had
again,
to go about an hour.
once again, I appreciate you being on here, Kelly, and it's a real privilege to be able to call you the 2025 IMCA Super Nationals or IMCA National Stock Car Champion.
That sounds awfully good. Thank you.
Yeah, congratulations. That's
Thanks,
cool.
Chad.
That's pretty cool.
All right. Once again, we'll see everybody December 15th.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.